It's not 5 o'clock, and they don't care. Welcome to Wine to 5. Entertainment, education, and everyday drinking for everyday people. Your hosts are Valerie Caruso and Stephanie Davis, two wine educators who don't need a clock to know when to pour that next glass.
Well, let's get started here. This is a special edition of the Wine to 5 podcast, and we're talking today with Rick Fisher, and he's going to be telling us something very special about what the Wine Scholar Guild is up to now, and that is the Spanish Wine Scholar program. And of course, Steph is here as always, so we're going to talk about what's in our glasses. But first, welcome, Rick.
Thank you, ladies. It's a pleasure to be here.
And hey, Steph.
Hey, I busted out a pink earring just for you, Val. It's like this lightning bolt with sparkles. It's just one dangly earring, like a punk rocker today.
That's so cute. That's so cute. Anything punk down there in San Diego, Rick, that you got going on?
No. How could I even try to compete with Steph and her lightning bolt earring?
Yeah, I got nothing but leopard leggings on and house slippers. So looking sexy here in Colorado. But let's get started with what is in our glasses. I think that's the first thing. It's Tuesday afternoon. Rick is going to join us for the What's in Our Glasses session, and we were going to go from there. But Rick, what are you drinking?
So it is 2 o'clock in San Diego, so it's well into white wine drinking time.
That's right.
And, it's really interesting is a couple weeks ago, I read an article by Andrew Jefford from Decanter, and he was talking about the white wines of the Priorat. And the Priorat, as you guys, likely well know, up in Catalonia, is predominantly a red wine region. They only produce 3% of their wines are white. And so after reading that, I started hunting through my cellar and happened to find one that I had in there. So I'm pretty excited about the wine today. It's a 2014 Planetes de Nin Blanc, and it is 100% Carignana Blanca, which, very interestingly enough, is actually a mutation of the red Carignana, or Carignan grape, and it was basically brought out of extinction. It's a husband and wife winery, the Nin Ortiz family, and they're both viticulturists, which is kind of fun. But what I think is really interesting is the fact that the wife is the winemaker, and I'm really finding just some really amazing wines made by women now. They really are finding their voice in the winemaking world. So it's. What's kind of funny about this grape is that when I first started tasting it, and I was smelling it, and I must have spent 10 minutes smelling this thing because I just couldn't figure out what it was. And it has little characteristics of like a Fino sherry on the nose. I think that this grape definitely has a lot of potential. It's very characteristic of that, even on the palate too, kind of that almondy, light, fresh, not highly acidic, but it's a really fun wine to drink. And I thought it would be something fun to bring out with you guys today, just because it's so incredibly unique. And of course, I'm all about Spain.
It's funny that you just happen to have a bottle of a Priorat Blanca in your cellar. Actually, the only Spanish wine I have in my cellar right now is a Priorat that I almost broke out for you today, but I have rum instead. But could you repeat the name of the producer? And could you also send us a picture for the blog so our listeners can see what the heck that is?
I will, absolutely. So the producer is Familia Nin Ortiz, and that's Nin-Ortiz.
Okay.
It's a husband and wife team, Esther Nin and Carles Ortiz, out of the Priorat.
All right.
Well, you had me at Fino Sherry, so I'm definitely excited about that too. That sounds really nice.
And what's funny, when I was doing a little bit of research on this too, they actually age the wine in amphora, in those clay vessels, for about 6 months before they put them into neutral French barrels for 3 months. And they do that just to bring up the alcohol level to the minimum 13% that's required in the Priorat.
Okay, so I was going to say, when you said the Fino Sherry, all of a sudden I got images of wines like Vengeance and wines that have the Siboney too, doesn't it? Clos Siboney?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's kind of like the floor that I'm thinking of in some of these wines.
Yeah.
Is that
and the wine? And they are pretty readily available. This family they do a really high end red. They do another red that's very similar to this one. And definitely they're available online. So
okay?
Did you find that one in town?
No, I actually found it. I'm one of those crazy people that I'll hunt through websites and see how much it costs me to ship to San Diego these really crazy unique wines that I can't find anywhere. I think I found this one in Northern California, possibly.
All right.
Searcher.
Rick, you're not that strange. You're with the right people. We are all about obscure wines.
Well, hopefully I delivered today on that.
Yes, you did. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is our show. That's all. I'm just kidding.
Drop the mic.
Oh, hey, speaking of Northern California, Steph, what do you have? I peeked.
I've got a pink wine to match my pink earring. It's the 2014 GoldenEye Brut Rosé. And GoldenEye, if you're not familiar, is part of the Duckhorn Wine Company. GoldenEye is in Anderson Valley, California. And this is new for me. I haven't tried it before. And it is 78% Pinot Noir and 22% Chardonnay. I think it particularly pairs well with long, leisurely lunches. That's what it pairs with.
Nice.
And what are you drinking,
So obviously
Val?
more than one bottle, right?
Yeah, that's right. So you do need to have a few, depending on, how many friends you have. One for you. No, and then one for your friends.
Or if it's available in Magnum, usually Steph can be found toting one of those or a Jeroboam. Yeah, think we're kidding.
Right.
We're not.
Yeah.
Again, we're in good
We're not.
company. So.
Yes, absolutely. Well, I went the other way because it's weird. I've got a 2014 Priorat down in my basement right now. I don't remember which one it is, but it looks like it's got the Maltese cross on the label, and that's all I remember. But I turned around and we had such a ridiculously well-stocked bar that I found this rum that I've only given one chance. I thought I'd give it another chance. It's the Angostura 1824 rum, and it is from Trinidad and Tobago. It's aged 12 years in bourbon casks. And I thought it was it's such a unique rum. It was in a really cool bottle. I think I brought it home for John's birthday. And I really don't think I gave it a fair shot the first time because I'm actually enjoying it a lot more now. I don't know why that is. It could have just been the day, or it was summer. Now it's fall. But this is a really nice... it's a darker rum. It's like I'm holding up to the camera, which you guys can't even see. I don't even have Rick and Steph on video right now because we're trying to conserve our wonderful Skype connection bandwidth here. But it is this beautiful toffee color, and it's almost got these like caramel notes and really like raisined fruit. And it's such an interesting, weird little rum that I'm actually digging it. So that's what I'm drinking in the middle of a Tuesday.
How fun.
That's nice.
Yeah, it was nice. It's just like beautiful fall day outside and rum inside and wine geeks on the other end of the line. And so for those of you that are just tuning in, we're talking with Rick Fisher. He is the Spanish Wine Scholar Program Director, and he's joining us today from San Diego, California, but he lives and breathes Spain. He's part Catalan. And his passion for Spanish heritage and desire to educate others about Spanish culture, food, and wine led him to create Bodega. Eat, drink, explore España. And that website is bodegasspanishwine.com. And it was created in 2009, and we'll definitely link that up for you guys. But he's also been a contributor to the Spanish and Portuguese wine site Aveeno, as well as Glass of Bubbly, a UK-based magazine focusing on sparkling wine. Rick earned the WSET Advanced with Merit from Wine and Spirits Education Trust in 2015, as well as American Wine Expert Certification in 2016, and he holds Master of Business Administration from University of Phoenix in 2009. Over the past decade, he's dedicated countless hours of volunteering for organizations promoting Spanish wine within the U.S., and while not obsessing about Spain, you can find Rick cooking or road cycling. That is so cool.
Yeah, welcome, Rick.
Thank you very much.
Well, so let's jump in and let's start talking about Spain. So when did your love for Spanish wine begin, and what opportunities have you had because of that love?
Well, it's funny because I would have to say my love for Spanish wine really started well before I could even drink. So as you read in my bio, I'm part Catalan. My grandfather on my mother's side was born in Barcelona. And as long back as I can remember, Spain has always been just something that's been a little bit, obviously it runs through my veins, but I never forget being, I was a kid, I think it must have been like 6th grade, and we had to pick a country to do a report on, and right off the bat I picked Spain. And so Spain has always been there for me. So back in the late 90s, I lived in Madrid for a number of months while I was studying Spanish. And, just over the course of time, one of the things that I found when I really started to explore Spanish wine was that it was very underreported. I mean, everybody talks about what a great bargain it is, but nobody was really giving much information about it, with the exception of Aveeno. And so I was in Barcelona. I met with the owners of Aveeno, and we developed a friendship, and I started doing some correspondent writing for them. But I have to say that what was fun was my very first opportunity that I remember with Spanish wine was that when I was living in Madrid, I took a trip up to Galicia, up in the northwestern part of the country, which for those of your viewers or listeners who aren't aware, is the area that's just above Portugal. And I'll never forget going to the Santiago de Compostela, where the huge cathedral is, and having my first glass of white wine, which was a Ribeiro, and some Galician cheese. And it's like that combination of those two always sticks in my brain as a very special moment when it comes to Spain and Spanish wine. And I would just say, opportunity-wise, I think that, when you have a passion for something, whether you're paid for it or not, it comes through. And I've, taken time and gone and worked with organizations that promote Spanish wine, and it just keeps coming around. And I think, being asked to work with this program is a direct result of just year after year of, following my passion. And that's kind of where things are at this point.
That's such the go-giver attitude, too, which is great, because it does go around. You give and then you get to receive, too. And that's sometimes the hard part for people, right, to be a gracious receiver. But it's true. If you put it out there, that's great. The opportunities roll in.
Yep, they do.
So how exactly did the Wine Scholar Guild approach you, or did you approach them, or how did all that come about?
One of the owners of Aveeno, Gabriella, has been a good friend for more than 10 years. She actually let me know about the opportunity, and then I submitted a chapter, with a number of other folks to be considered for the program developer. It was right about the time when they were really knee-deep in the Italian program. And so, they put Spain kind of on a back burner while they were really working on the launch for Italy. But all in that whole time, I mean, it was still, for me, it was always something that it just seemed like the perfect marriage, because I love to write. I love people. I love to talk about Spain. And I mean, we could be on this podcast for 4 hours just letting me talk about Spain, which I know, just so your listeners know, we're not going to go 4 hours. And then things just continue to happen. And I work, Lisa Airy, our education director from the Wine Scholar Guild, reached out to me, and we did some revision work. And back back in June of this year, they officially offered me the opportunity to work with them to create the Spanish Wine Scholar program.
Hey, can you back up a minute and tell our listeners what Aveeno is?
Yeah, so Aveeno is a site that focuses primarily on Spanish and Portuguese wines. They also actually have a travel arm now that they do travel in Portugal. The owners are Ryan and Gabriela Opaz. They're actually Americans. They're from Minnesota.
Okay.
And have been living over on the peninsula for well over 10 years.
They do like a blog too, right?
They do a blog, yeah.
Okay,
they do a blog, exactly.
Okay.
I have a question. This kind of goes back to a couple of episodes ago. I was drinking a chocolate and I was struggling with the Basque pronunciation all over the place. I think I can only get chocolate right. And anyhow, one of the things I was stumbling on was the Petit Manseng name in Basque, which I still think my best effort is something like Itspiriotsa Chipia or something like that. So would you please correct me? Tell me how to say it properly. And then also kind of let me know about, is there going to be some pronunciation exercises on the Spanish Wine Scholar program?
Sure. Well, I will be the first person to tell you that I will not claim to be an expert at pronouncing Basque language. But my understanding from the way that this would actually be pronounced would be Ispiriocha Chipia.
Okay. Close enough. Yes.
Yes, but you make it sound a lot better, but it was close.
Please forgive my butchering, but it's just such a fascinating language. I mean, it's actually, and you guys may or may not know, a lot of people believe that because there are no true origins for the language, a lot of people believe it may very well be the oldest language in the world. And so the combination of T's and X's and T's and Z's and it's fascinating. And when you're in Basque country, just be thankful that they actually do have Castilian and English as part of it, because I would never be able to make any connection to any other language.
Right.
And
well,
yes,
Val, you've been there. Did you see, was it easy to get around because they had all of the English or Catalan?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's Spain, the three primary parts of Spain that really still live basically in their very traditional aspects would be Galicia, the Basque Country, and Catalonia. But they're all still Spanish, so you can definitely, Castilian is spoken there. And as English becomes more and more of a kind of a lingua franca, it really it's very easy to get around. And I even drove in the Basque Country, and so outside of going down a one-way street one time, other than that, it was actually quite easy, and the people are just amazing and very accommodating. And my philosophy when I travel is at least learn a couple of phrases in the local language, and then learn how to say, I don't speak your language, and then they'll speak English.
Right. And I noticed there's a lot of X's. I did notice that. And also, it's not tapas up there, it's pinchos.
Correct.
Also with an X. I remember that from San Sebastian. And I did actually download a Kindle book back when we were doing one of the Saturday summits that we do with the Society of Wine Educators. You know which ones I'm talking about? The ones you have to be a member for. They're like 3 hours and they're really intensive. And we did one. I was talking about southwestern France Basque into Spanish Basque, because there are different provinces and they all used to be part of the same. And I downloaded this book, Rick. I don't know if you've read it, called The Basque History of the World.
Love that book.
Oh my goodness. And so if you want to learn it, the language is called Euskera.
Right. Correct.
And they do believe, like you said, that the language goes back. They weren't big on documentation, but that they believe that this is one of the oldest iterations of any European language, and that the culture itself predates the Bronze Age. I think is one of the nuggets I took from the book. And then they were talking about the food and this cake recipe and all these little nuggets that I managed to put in this presentation. And it's absolutely fascinating. And since we're still on the Basque thing, I have to ask you, Rick, have you been to Boise?
Boise, Idaho?
Uh-huh.
No, but I know that they have the largest concentration of Basque people in the U.S.
It's fascinating.
That's what I've heard.
Yeah, they have a festival every year, and you can walk past some of the bars, and they're speaking Euskera. So that's a little factoid for you guys this week. Right here in the United States, in Boise, Idaho, there's a little segment of the town that is all Basque. And
I believe they also have those cooking societies, too, in Boise. And that's really popular in the Basque country, where it traditionally used to be where men would go and they would all cook together and then eat and drink, together. And then they've now opened a lot of those up for women as well. But I believe that in Boise, they actually have a couple of those societies too, which would be fun to visit.
Yes, and it's such a great town anyway. So we thought that would be a fun little thing to chat about since we had a little bit of time before we get to the next thing. I don't know, Steph, anything else to add about all the...
I wanted to know if you were going to have some... pronunciation exercises like the French wine scholar.
Yeah, so just like the French and the Italian, we will definitely be doing that as well. And anything that, like I said, I won't pretend to be an expert in Euskera or in Catalan, but the predominance of the pronunciations will be Castellano.
Okay, great. And I think that is so important because if you think we don't forvo things before we start the show, we do. I even had to look up Trinidad and Tobago because I've always called it Tobago, and it's
right.
And Steph's sitting here, and I'm going through Forvo, and there are like 6 different pronunciations. I'm like Tobago, click. Tobago, click, Tobago. She goes, yeah, I got it. I'm like, Tobago. So it
I'm
is
like,
important.
Okay, we got 5 different voices saying Tobago. I think we got it.
Right. So, it does help to have a reliable source of pronunciation. And I think, like I've told listeners before, if you're studying Spanish wine or if you're studying whatever you're studying and you're learning how those syllables come together in your brain, I think it makes the material stick better.
Absolutely.
Instead of just taking like a multiple choice exam and like, oh yeah, it's one of those words with X's and, but yet if you learn a little bit more about the origins of the word or can pronounce it or went through the pain of learning how to say Espiriocha, Chipia, or have embarrassed yourself sufficiently doing so in another country, you're going to learn it better. So
yeah, and I think that's one of the things for me, like even like when I was working on my advanced WSET, was I tended to study out loud a lot, just for that reason, yes. Because I think when you hear, it's one thing to look at it and think how it sounds, but it's another thing to completely butcher it and then start to research how it actually is supposed to sound.
Oh, yeah. And like I said, if you mess it up a couple of times, you'll definitely remember it. Or if you get a question wrong, you'll never get that question wrong again. So yep. Speaking of embarrassing ourselves, this is the part of the show, and we're very good at it here. We love that we are all serious about wine. Obviously, we're geeking out on a Priorat Blanca right now. Or is it Priorat Blanco, right?
Priorato Blanca.
Blanca.
But it would be Priorato Blanca in Castellano, but in Catalan it's Blanc.
Okay, so the whole masculine, feminine, see what I mean? Talking about embarrassing yourself. So we take our wine seriously, but we don't take ourselves seriously. So we're guessing that you've got an embarrassing wine story to tell us.
Okay, so having listened to your show before and knowing that this question was coming, I will tell you that I've racked my brain on this to come up with one that wasn't too completely embarrassing, but one that would still fit the bill. So, when we all have our milestone birthdays, we always want to do something fun or drink a great wine. And last February, I turned 50. And we had, and I for months prior to that, I was planning, I want to drink a 1966 Spanish wine, And, doing all my research, I found out that 1966 was not the greatest year for a vintage in Spain. But I still sought one out. And after finally finding something, I found, do you guys know the Torres Sangre de Toro, the bottle from Catalunya that has a little plastic bull that hangs from the top of it? Have you ever seen that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
So they produced a wine in 1966, the Torres Sangre de Toro. And, you can buy that wine here now for probably $10. And, I found it online for like 40. And I'm like, okay, they had 3 bottles. So I'm like, I'm going to go ahead and buy this. We're going to go ahead and take it to the party that, my friends were having for me. And it's going to be fantastic. Now, I really was kind of fooling myself at that point. So we get to the party, we do everything. And I say, hey guys, I thought it'd be kind of fun to drink a wine from my birth year. So I painstakingly take the cork and rip it to shreds. After I finally got it out and filtered the wine into a decanter, I tasted it, and I think we all want to have this incredibly sentimental and emotional moment when you're drinking a wine from your birth year. And I proceeded to tell everybody that I thought it was really nice, and then we poured it for everybody, and we all knew it was crap. So, it was. Needless to say, I went over there with 3 bottles. I came home with 2, and the rest of the first bottle ended up getting poured down the drain.
Oh.
But it was still fun to drink a wine from 1966.
Yes.
Yes, and that was a very good year, I will add. And like you, I couldn't find a 66 that I could either afford or was willing to even risk shipping here, thinking, well, if it's not ruined, it'll probably be ruined by the time it gets shipped here because of, shipping. And so it wasn't until we were at conference in DC stuff.
Right.
Like, gosh, it was
port.
August. Yeah, it was the port. It was a 66 port. So that's why I'm surprised you didn't go for maybe a port, because I know it's not Spanish, but...
Yeah, well, it's funny. I actually did find a Pedro Jimenez sherry from 1966, which I actually still have now because we never opened it, because I think everybody was so put off by my terrible 1966 Sangre de Toro that we never got to it. But I will say, though, in one sense of redemption, a few years ago, I was in Spain on a tour, and I actually did try a 1966 wine that this really cool wine shop in Barcelona pulled out to this group of industry folks. And I was really hoping for that same experience, and I was sorely disappointed.
Oh.
But it was still fun. It's still fun. Everybody had a good laugh, and we drank a 50-year-old wine that tasted like a 150-year-old wine.
Oh my gosh, that's awesome.
I think that's why I'm sticking to Armagnac, and then it's going to still taste good.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great story, though. Yeah, and and I've seen the little plastic bowls. Now, I don't see them a lot in our stores, but I know of the little plastic bowls. They're like the little Happy Meal toys that you get.
Yeah.
But I don't think I've seen the actual plastic bowl hanging from bottles. Do you have a collection of the little plastic bowls?
I used to.
That's what I figured.
I used to. They actually had.
That was the embarrassing thing you didn't want to tell us, was that you have a collection.
Because they actually make a white, rosé, and red. I did actually have one of each.
Okay. And you're welcome to send us pictures of those for the blog, too.
I no longer have those.
Okay.
When I turned 50, I gave up childish things.
Oh, my God. That's my favorite part right there.
That's great.
That's hilarious. Well, so how can everybody connect with you online, Rick?
Yeah, so I actually, personally, I'm on Twitter at Bodega Wine. And I'm also on Instagram as the Spanish Wine Guy, and it's the Spanish Wine Guy, because there's another guy who's Spanish Wine Guy. I'm the Spanish Wine Guide.
There can
And
be
your
only
Bodega
one.
Wine on Twitter. That's kind of a good handle.
Yeah, it's actually, I created that years ago as kind of a follow-on to my website, bodegaspanishwine.com. And then the other place people can get a hold of me, obviously, is through the Guild, R. Fisher, and that's Fisher, at winescholarguild.org. And I'm always happy to, answer questions. Or I would encourage folks, though, to sign up for the Wine Scholar Guild newsletter.
Okay.
Because that will definitely keep you informed, not only on as we get closer to the launch on the Spanish program, but on webinars and the French program and our Italian program and everything that we have going on right now.
Oh, that's great. That's great.
And the estimated launch, when is that?
So we are looking, and fingers and toes are crossed, for a fall 2018 launch. And, there's a lot of work that goes in, obviously up to that point with developing the program and getting all the webinars put together. And, but once we launch that program, then we'll work with our program provider network, and we'll be offering that to folks that we can take them online. And I'm hoping to be able to get out as well and maybe teach a couple of them in person. That it's going to be a lot of fun. And then as we do with France, and we'll be shortly with Italy, we'll be working on putting the study immersion trips together, and then hopefully once things are moving, then creating a couple of master level programs too.
Oh, great.
Yeah,
and
that's
so
great.
and that brings me up just so you guys know, for your listeners, we are offering a coupon for anybody who wants to join for membership for the Guild. It's a 15% off discount on manuals and membership and any of the educational programs, including the Italian and the French programs and any of our master level programs. It does not include the study immersion trips, but it is a 15% discount on everything else. And that code is W25WINE. Again, that's W25WINE, and we are very happy to extend that to your listeners.
Oh, thank you so much. That is so generous for you guys, and for you guys to take advantage of this. Anyway, so what I'm trying to say is that is so generous, and we thank you so much. And for listeners, that is a very generous offer if you want to take advantage of any of that in the new year as well. So, Rick, is there anything else you wanted to add, or anything we might have missed that you wanted to chat about today?
I think the only thing I would probably add would be, there are, a lot of people are really, really interested in Spain and Spanish wine. And every time, I'm meeting a lot of people as I'm out and about, and, they are just chomping at the bit for this program to be launched. But I would say it's fun to kind of delve in even prior to that. So, there are a couple of really good websites out there. winesfromspainusa.com is kind of the premier Spanish wine site. Has a lot of educational material on there, a lot of really good information, and it's not, and it's kind of high level, so people can get a really good overview. And then I'm not sure if the both of you saw this or not, but I subscribe to all, like the Decanter or Wine Spectator, Food and Wine. The September 2017 issue of Food and Wine was all about Spain.
Okay.
And,
there was also something, I think you're right, on Wine Spectator that was about Spain recently, too.
Yeah, the food, and it's funny because I actually did a Google search, and I found if you do Food and Wine September 2017 PDF, you can actually find a PDF version and download it.
Nice.
And there's recipes and information. It's just it's a very well done issue, and one that I actually downloaded and now keep in my library.
Oh, that's good to know.
Well, I have to give you a food resource since we're here, because one of our favorite Spanish food resources is La Tienda.
Oh, you love them.
Have you been there?
I have not, but I will tell you, I have ordered from them quite regularly.
Yeah, we get their catalog, and you can actually go there and have paella cooked to order It's in Williamsburg, Virginia, but you can get their catalog online at La Tienda or tienda.com, www.tienda.com, and you can get the jamon or the different cheeses or the chocolate-filled figs. I don't remember what they're called, but they're everything from cookware to, we got our olive wood salt wells, and you can even order some wine, but mostly for the food. If you want some goodies for the any occasion, really, a good holiday basket or whatever, or just some really awesome cheeses, olives, everything.
Or if you have really good friends like Val, they send it to you as your stocking stuffer.
That wouldn't even get into my stocking. Val, I love you.
Thank you.
I'll email you
I love
my
you
address.
too, Val.
Oh, you guys are so funny. Well, that goes back to Steph being jealous of her friend down the street used to get stinky cheese in her stockings while the rest of us got like oranges and apples and stuff like that. And so we thought, well, and her husband always puts fruit in her stocking as a joke.
To torture me.
Yeah, to torture her.
Funny.
So I was like, okay, this year we'll make sure she gets some like stinky cheeses or whatever. Not that Spanish cheeses aren't particularly stinky, but just put these in the stocking instead and tell Justin to do that. So yes, it's a really good, and they were given some kind of award as well from the Spanish monarchy.
I know what you're talking about too. Almost like a knighthood type of thing.
Yeah.
It's like they were giving an honorary designation, but they've done so much to promote Spain and Spanish food and especially Spanish food in the U.S. and they're just great. They've always been. I mean, their food products are phenomenal. They even have, I believe, if you're ordering stuff that's not perishable, they have a flat like $10 shipping too. So like if you're getting almonds or the piquillo peppers, the jarred red piquillo peppers are amazing. So, and I even buy my coffee from there.
Really?
Yeah, because in Spain they have a method called torrefacto, where they roast the beans with a little bit. They spray a little mist of sugar in when they're roasting them, and so it kind of helps to kind of recreate that when you go to the bar in Spain and you order just a cafe, that it's a little taste of home.
Torrefacto, TORREFACTO.
Val's ordering that.
That's it.
You know it. Right now, ordering it right now, so it'll be.
I think you're going to be doing our Spanish pronunciation for us.
Torrefacto. Well, gosh, Rick. Well, this was awesome, and listeners, you got so many factoids that we don't even have to like jam one in here at the end of the show. So there you go. We'll link all this up in the show notes, but we want to give a big, huge shout out and lots of love to Rick for being here with us today over Skype on a Tuesday afternoon, evening. And thank you so much again for the coupon code and just for hanging out with us. We really enjoyed this. Was such a treat.
Thanks for having me. It was a joy to be with you ladies as well. And I, wish all of you a great week and a great coming year.
Thank you. Are we going to see you in the Finger Lakes in August?
I hope so.
Oh, that would be awesome.
That would be fun.
We thank you again for joining us. We'll go ahead and let you go. We'll just do the wrap up here.
Okay, and then I'll send you a picture I'll send you a picture of the bottle and everything.
Please do.
All right. Well, you guys have a great holiday.
You too. Thanks,
You
Rick.
too.
Talk to you later.
All
Bye-bye.
right. Bye-bye.
Bye. And now's the time for us to thank our patrons who support us on the crowdfunding platform called Patreon. So, Tenacious Tasters, Jeff E. from the We Like Drinking podcast, Lynn from Savor the Harvest, Sebastian of Sassy Italy Tours, Jen in Maryland, David and Lisa in Illinois, and It's Not 5 o'clock and We Don't Care. Certainly Meg doesn't care in South Dakota, nor does Clay in Arizona, or our friends in California, John, Andrew, and Azwani, and certainly not Chantel in Ontario or Mary Lou in Pennsylvania. Kathy in Georgia, she doesn't care either. And in Colorado, Chris and Janet and Diane. And Illinois, there's Steve and Renee. Kathy in Tennessee, and Ashley in North Carolina. We know she doesn't care. So We also have many tastemaker listeners. They are tasting away. In Scotland, David. In Kentucky, Carol. And in California, Karen. So if you want to become a patron, go check out the details of what that really means and all the goodies at patreon.com/wine, TWOFIVE podcast.
We are here for you every week. Between episodes, you can find us in the social spaces at Wine to Five, and we encourage you to join the private Facebook group called Wine to Five Community. I'm Val, and you can connect with me on Twitter at WineGalUnboxed and as Aveeno with Val on Facebook, Instagram, and Pinterest. And Steph here, you can connect with her online as The Wine Heroine. That's HEROINE, not the other one, but until next week, everybody.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Thank you for listening to the Wine to Five podcast. Be sure to check us out at Facebook/Wine TWO5 and tune in next week for more fun and useful sip tips.